And, of course, the story we've been really looking into this morning, the Conservative leader of Swell Borough Council has apologised for responding or reposting a message in support of Tommy Robinson. Councillor Andrew Bowles was suspended from the Conservative Party pending an investigation, but still remains the leader of the council. Yesterday, he tweeted a statement apologising, saying he does not in any way support Tommy Robinson or have any sympathy whatsoever with the intolerant views promoted by him or his political movement. It comes, of course, in the week that senior Tory peer Baroness Saida Vasi called for an independent inquiry into what she calls institutional Islamophobia within the Conservative Party, something it denies. Let's speak with Mohammed Amin, chairman of the Conservative Muslim Forum, and Gerard Batten, MEP and leader of the UK Independence Party. Gerard Batten, good morning to you. So the retweet was in defence of Tommy Robinson, the former leader of the EDL, over some social media banning him. You've hired Mr. Robinson as an advisor. What do you make of the decision?
I haven't hired anybody. Nobody gets paid.
Okay,
so they just advise me.
So but he's an advisor, not a paid advisor.
No, he doesn't get paid. Nobody gets paid.
What do you make of this suspension of the councillor?
I think what I think is outrageous is his suspension. What's even more outrageous is the grovelling apology that he's then given and climbed down. Let's remember why this happened. This is an MP, Tom Watson, who was trying to get somebody else taken off YouTube because he doesn't like his views. And you slightly misquoted the apology from the councillor when you said Tommy Robinson's intolerant views. The councillor has accused him of racist and intolerant views. Both of those are not true. That in itself is something he should apologise again for, because Tommy Robinson, whether you like him or don't like him, agree with him or not, has never said anything racist or intolerant. He has a point of view, and these are the kind of...
It's got a bit close, though, Gerard. I mean, caught using the P word, all sorts of other things. It's not particularly something that he would put on his CV, is it?
What isn't? Sorry.
In the sense that he couldn't really call himself having clear decks when it comes to inflammatory language. Well, if you look at the use of the P word, recently caught on video, various other comments and conversations that he's been recorded having, it's not a good look for Tommy Robinson.
Well, sometimes I have, like I've said many times, my support for him is qualified. I don't agree with everything or he says or the way that he says it necessarily, but we are moving to a position in this country now where you're only allowed to have certain views if they are approved by the politically correct left-wing establishment. And it's getting like communist China in the Cultural Revolution. Somebody says something that isn't approved, they're ostracised, suffer a penalty, they have to go through this ritual apology, and then they have to recant, and they're re-educated. And now the councillor has been told he has to go on classes on how to use social media. This is getting like this old Soviet Union or communist China or even Nazi Germany. Only approved views are allowed, and people are being crushed and driven down and not allowed to actually say certain things.
But Gerard, isn't sorry to interject, but isn't the problem, perhaps, let's be generous here, not with Tommy Robinson, but he has a Facebook page, it's up there. Some of his followers may well be the purveyors of hate and bile that are posting pretty unsavoury things. So it might not be Robinson himself, but the page that he represents, of course, can, his decision or not, can enamour others to come forward, and that's perhaps what Facebook have objected to.
Well, he had 1 million followers on Facebook, and the reason that they've taken him down is because they don't want him to have access to 1 million people. That's the real reason. Now, don't use Facebook, so I don't know how it works, but I use Twitter, and I know you can actually block people who put things up that you don't approve of. And if people, I often block people who put vile things up in response to what I say on Twitter. Now, I don't know whether you can do that on Facebook, but if you can, I'd certainly recommend Tommy Robinson to do that if necessary. But it's a bit late now because he's been taken off.
Let's just bring Mohammed Amin in. Mohammed, good morning to you, chairman of the Conservative Muslim Forum. Let's first respond to those initial comments, the ones we put to Gerard Batten about the councillor being suspended. Do you agree with that?
Good morning. I do agree with his suspension. The news that he's apologised is brand new to me. I'm pleased that he has. And the way that a senior Conservative should behave is everybody in the country has freedom of speech. Tommy Robinson has freedom of speech. Mr. Bowles has freedom of speech as a citizen, but once you become an elected Conservative, you have to avoid saying things that will bring the Conservative Party into disrepute.
But that's the issue, isn't it? He doesn't have freedom of speech. Tommy Robinson doesn't have freedom of speech is the accusation here, because he's had it taken away from him by Facebook, and that was the point the councillor believed, or says, he was trying to get across, that it was a support of his right to say what he says, not necessarily an endorsement of what he says.
Facebook is a private company, and if it believes that somebody is using its facilities to spread hatred, which is the conclusion that it drew vis-a-vis Tommy Robinson, it's entitled to take away access from him, and I'm pleased that it has. Tommy Robinson is a person who is dividing our society. I've never known him to say a good thing about Muslims, a good thing about people from Pakistan, and he's a person who is propagating hatred.
So he's so toxic that a Conservative Party leader of a council should not even be going near it, even if he is trying to make a point about free speech.
Absolutely.
Is that reasonable, Gerard Batten? The idea that somebody wouldn't take their role as a council leader seriously enough to realise that you don't go near, to paraphrase, a toxic brand like Robinson.
Well, you're branding him as toxic. A lot of people don't think he's
toxic. No, I'm paraphrasing Mohammed Amin's point here.
Well, somebody is. A lot of people actually think he's got something to say that they want to listen to. First of all, I think politicians, above all people, have a responsibility to free speech when it's being suppressed in the way that it is at the moment. If politicians are too frightened to say something which they believe to be true, i.e. that someone like Mr. Robinson should be allowed to exercise his free speech, then, of course, what is the hope for anybody else if the people who are supposed to represent the people are too frightened to say anything? First of all, contrary to what the last gentleman said, Tommy Robinson does not spread hatred. He does not propagate hatred against people. He has written a very good book co-authored with Peter McLaughlin called Why Muslims Kill for Islam, which explains the violence and the hatred behind the extremist ideology in the Quran. And that's an extremely good book, which I'd recommend to anyone.
Okay. Let me
talk about individuals or people.
Mohammed, just to have a final point on this in response to some of that then, Tommy Robinson, in fact, is often, I think, to paraphrase Gerard now, is invariably misquoted on some of these things.
I've read a great deal of what Mr. Robinson has written over the years. He's not misquoted. He is not an expert on Islam. He's got nothing meaningful to say about the world's second greatest religion. Okay. He's a man who spreads hatred against people like me. Very finally, does the Conservative Party have an Islamophobic problem? You're a Conservative. I believe You're a Muslim. We need to deal with anti-Muslim bigotry amongst our members better than we have done.
OK. Mohammed Amin, thank you, sir. Chairman of the Conservative Muslim Forum. Also before that, you heard Gerard Batten, the leader of UKIP.